Welcome, Knicks family, to the Queen's Court. Appreciate all of you joining us, those that's in the chat, those that are listening, those that'll be viewing later. Appreciate you. Shout out again to Sim, MBK fam, Tony Crowe, who's with us today from Nixon and Bruises, and a very special shout out to my nephew, Josh, aka UncleFOOlio. That's an inside joke. He'll get it. Today we're going to be talking about the Knicks roster and whether or not we think there'll be a top 4 seed. So I'll talk about where I see the Knicks. Tony will talk about where he sees the Knicks. And then we'll also talk about 2 rosters in the Eastern Conference. I think it's easy to say the Knicks are going to be 4th, 5th, 6th, but there's been a lot of changes in the Eastern Conference, and we're going to get a chance to look at least 2 rosters. I'm going to try every week to put 1 or 2 rosters up from our competitors in the Eastern Conference just to see where the Knicks fit. But we are actually going to get right into it. So let's bring in Tony Crowe. How are you since we last did a show together?
Salute Queen, salute Sim, salute chat. How y'all doing? Yo, Black is time. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Before we get into the Eastern Conference, I just got to ask one Summer League question. So the Knicks play today against Atlanta at 7 p.m. For those who don't know, I believe it's on NBA TV, but double check that. This game was added late, so we moved Queen's Court down to 5:30, and we actually shortened the show. So I had a lot of questions about Summer League, but I want to ask one of them now, and then we'll go right into the Knicks and where they fit in the Eastern Conference. As well as the rookies have played, Tony, I don't see them in the rotation. I see them as situational. Do you agree with that? And if not, and you would put them in the rotation, who do you see as being out of the rotation? Provided Tibbs stays with a 10-man rotation.
I do agree. I mentioned earlier on my show that this is one of the few times. This is probably the first time in a long time that we have rookies that are coming in, and they don't have to be depended on to play a role, a significant role. They can actually be rookies and learn the league. And grow at their pace, and that's a beautiful thing. I think that has changed throughout the league, where players are coming in and expected to be who they're going to be at the height of their career, right, off jump, and I don't think it's fair. But the league has just changed that way. But now these guys got vets to learn from, and I love that.
Yeah, me too. Let me get a shout out to the chat. Tricky Nikki, appreciate you. Evergreen, Jet Life for Life, Be Original, Sherwin M, Tim Smith, Andre Bryant, a lot of longtime supporters of MBK. Appreciate you all. I think, is that Tears and Wheat or Taris and Wheat? Soul Nasty. Appreciate all of you. Let me take one more. Josh is not here, so we might have a little more time since it's just going to be our 2 rosters. Haven't seen Quickly for 4 games, right? Playing that point guard position, and he was out last game. I'm not sure if he's playing tonight. If Kemba misses a game or Rose misses a game, are you comfortable with Quickly and McBride backing up Rose for a game or for a series of games?
The answer is split. Let me start by saying
okay.
Let me start by saying I like the fact that Quickly got these reps in at the point guard position, full time, heavy minutes. Got an opportunity to show what he can do and just get more familiar with it. That being said, I think it's more than just Quickly. I think, as we've seen, Burks has played some point. We rely heavily on Randall facilitating. last year. I think RJ could control. So, before we even got Kemba, we was talking about how we was gonna have to utilize a lot of these other players at the
Right.
positions to not overwhelm Rose. So I am comfortable with it, but not just those two guys, and I might be more comfortable with McBride running the point backup minutes than quickly, even though he's shown me a lot, especially with his assists.
Yeah, I mean, let's just hope for the best case scenario as far as injuries is concerned, and we'll talk about this more when we get into our roster. That Kimba and Rose don't miss um, significant time, and definitely don't miss any playoff time. I think as we were able to see, the playoffs are a different animal. Sorry, the playoffs are a different animal, and I'm not sure how in game 3 on. And then Burke is just not a playmaker as well. So I'm hoping it never gets to that, because I think it's kind of hard in the playoffs to just think, oh, we're going to lose this person. We're just going to pop this person in and we're going to be just as effective. We may be able to get by for a game, but I'm really hoping neither of them miss a significant amount of time. I think it's going to be. We do have people we can put in that position, but will we run as smoothly with those people in that position, I think is the question.
So it's interesting that you say that, because me personally, I wouldn't be opposed, depending on how both point guards are feeling. I wouldn't be opposed to using some type of load management early into the season, just to make sure that we have these guys full strength towards
Yeah.
the end. So if one of these guys got to miss a back end of the back to back, or you know what I mean, whatever the case is, that I think we're gonna have to utilize our full roster to make it through the regular season, and be at full strength at the end. So preference, yeah, I wish these guys could just split the minutes and,
Right, right,
and
right.
go.
And we
But
don't get to that point.
I'm thinking long term, we may have to really, use everybody we have as best we can. E- Even if one of these guys got to sit, and McBride and Quickly are splitting the second half of the minutes, just to keep Rose or Walker at 30 to 30, 32 minutes or something, like, just to keep them at that pace. I think we have enough guys that we can do it. I think we're pretty deep at the point right now, which has never never been the case. As long as it's not a long-term injury, I think we're okay.
Right. Um, yeah. Let's get into, yeah, I got a lot to say about it. I think it's gonna come up again actually when we
Okay.
get into the standings. So do we have your slide, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so we're gonna
That's up
put
to
your
them.
slide up first. I'm interested to see where you have the Knicks.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Ah. Awesome.
And what's funny? If I could just start with my 5 and my 6,
Mm-hmm.
I was really tempted to put us above Atlanta. Like in my brain, I wouldn't be surprised if we have identical records, and they just happen to win the tiebreaker or something of that sort.
Right.
To get positioned at 5 instead of 6. But yeah.
We'll talk
Should
about
I
it.
just break it
Yeah,
down?
yeah,
Or,
yeah. Break it down. Why you have the Knicks
um,
6?
well, I think Miami got a lot better. I think they're gonna jump us and Atlanta. Um, just to start with Miami, I think I don't know. Should I go off the roster?
We got we got Miami's roster if you want us to put it up.
Yeah, let's put it up, and I'll start with Miami and work my way up and then back down.
Okay. Awesome.
So Kyle Lowry, I think I think he's a perfect addition. I think he fits their system. I can only imagine him at full or Miami body weight or Miami conditioning. So if that transpires, I think they could potentially jump even higher, but I think they definitely jump us and jump the Atlanta Hawks. I think they were expected to be better than they were last year, and they actually got better. So that's the basis of why I'm jumping. Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, fresh off a championship. Kyle Lowry, not too far removed from a championship. Retain Robinson. I mean, they paid him a lot. I think they're stacked, honestly. I didn't even excuse me. They re-signed Oladipo.
They did. I think he's injured now, but they re-signed him for a minimum contract.
I didn't even know that. Morris is a great addition. Dedmon, a guy that could play defense and shoot threes. I think that if they have no chemistry issues off jump and they don't have to work their way and build, I think they could surprise a lot of teams. So I definitely have them at the least jumping us and Atlanta. Let's go back to that chart real quick. Philadelphia. I think they slide. I think I see you have them at 3-2. I think that's where they are. Miami could potentially pass them, but they still got the big man, and I don't think anybody in the league has an answer for Philly or for Embiid at this particular point. So that's why I'm gonna keep them there. Milwaukee, fresh off a championship, I don't think it's considered disrespect to not put them as the number one team. I just don't think they're better than Brooklyn if Brooklyn's at full strength. And we could, I don't even got to go into the players and everything else. I mean, I think Brooklyn at full strength is the best team in the East.
Even with their defense a little shaky, to say the least.
The defense is very shaky. But at full strength, I don't see a team outscoring them. You know what I mean? Even with their shaky defense, like their offense is on a level where it doesn't really matter how good a defensive team you have, because these are three of the most unstoppable guys in the league. So I look at it like that. Especially regular season. Playoffs, I think that is a totally different situation. I think they're gonna need to figure out some kind of defensive strategy by the end of the year. And Milwaukee, I'm not gonna make them slide more than one spot. I just think the Nets, over the course of 82 games, they're gonna be the best team in the East. To jump back down to, I guess I'll just go to Boston. I kind of spoke on the Knicks in Atlanta. I think we could have the same record and they just could beat us out for the position of fifth seed, or vice versa. Boston, I think. Do we have their team roster?
I don't have.
Okay.
I don't have their team roster. And how about I forgot about Boston? Totally forgot about Boston. So I would have to put them in and take somebody out.
All right. I didn't even notice that. Well, I just think that they're gonna have a little bit of some chemistry issues coming in. Let me see if I could pull them up real quick. I think I had a link up. Well, I think they're just gonna have to work their way into becoming who they are. I don't know if they're 100% ready. Like between Tatum and Brown, like me personally, I think Brown is going to be the better player ultimately. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some thinkings of that within the organization as well.
Right.
Chicago got better, but again, I kind of feel like the same type of thing is going to go on with Boston in Chicago. Like they have all the talent, but can they put it together? If they could put it together early, they could be dangerous.
Right.
But I have a feeling it's going to take them some time. Maybe they go on some type of run towards the end of the season.
Right. I think the issue with Chicago, and I have their roster in front of me, is the second team. So like when I was doing my ratings, and I'll let you finish, I took that second team into consideration. And that was the issue for Chicago with the second team, because there's somebody in the chat said, how could you put them 10th? But I think their starters is strong. Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Lauri Markkanen, if he comes back. I mean, he's still not signed, but I'm using the ESPN depth chart, and they had him there, Nikola Vucevic. But that second team, Kobe White, Alex Caruso, Tony Brown, Patrick Williams, Tony Bradley, I mean, I don't, as much of a lead as they may get with that first team, will that second team be able to hold that lead? And that was a problem I had with a few of the teams in my seedings, but continue.
No, I mean, you make good points. And I agree. Charlotte, I think they kind of overachieved last year as well. Quiet as kept. They started off extremely hot. Ball did go down for a little bit, and that is where they started to slide. Right. But I don't know how legit they actually are yet. I think they're a nice team to watch and be right on that bubble range.
Let me read off Charlotte's roster, because I think they did pretty well. And again, it's that second team. So LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, these are the starters. Gordon Hayward, when he's back, PJ Washington, and Mason Plumlee. I believe that was a trade with, was it Detroit? Not sure, but they traded for him. And that second team, Ish Smith, Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, Bismarck, Biyombo. So that's just 9. That's 9 deep right there, and that's not even including Book Night and their rookie, who I think will get some time. So, I mean, I think for all of us, it is about, how well we're going to gel and how healthy any team is going to be. But I like Charlotte's depth. I think that's why I put them, at 8. And I love Washington's depth as well.
I like Charlotte's depth a lot. I like them as a team. I just feel like, I don't know if, I think they're still a veteran leader away. I don't know if Gordon Hayward is that veteran leader. Gotcha. You know what I mean? He's a veteran, and he could probably do a lot on the court, like a whole. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking anything, but leadership, I don't know if that's his strong suit. And normally you would want that out of your point guard, so it's not going to come. I mean, they have a point guard that's not going to sacrifice bringing somebody in for. So it's going to be weird where they get that veteran leadership from. But I think that they're one guy away from, being right there where we were last year.
Right. I mean, keep in mind, before Hayward got hurt, Charlotte was right there. They were right there before Hayward went hurt, and he was hurt for was it the rest of the season, right, including the playoffs or the play-in for them, and I think that impacted them a lot. We'll see. I think Graham not being there hurts them because this is the first time LaMelo is playing, playing the point guard. I mean, between him and Rozier, it may, they may switch off, a little bit in terms of who's initiating the offense. But I like Charlotte.
I do
I
too.
like Charlotte.
I do too. And I think Graham was expendable for them. Like, I think they realized that. Like, I don't know how much they're really going to miss him. I think it came a point in the season when they realized, we can let him, we can move on from him and build somewhere else. I did have the Celtics roster spot or roster up. I mean, not much changed. It doesn't look like they did get Dennis Schroeder. I think that's going to be a big. I mean, that's going to be a big addition because I think he actually fits them better than Kemba. I think he's not going to score like Kemba could. The fact that he's going to defend, he doesn't need to score. And he can let the scorers actually score. Like, you might see breakout seasons from both their wings. But they got Al Horford back too. I've never really been a fan of his, but I will say he's had his best time there. You know what I mean? There is familiarity. I mean, maybe I undervalued them. You not as much as you clearly, but
no, you know what? I forgot all about Boston. I would have to put them in over one of these teams. It's going to be hard because
where would you slap them?
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at it now.
Are you putting them above us?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would probably, maybe over Indiana. I have to take a look at their roster again.
Well,
what? Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know who this rookie is. It looked like Jawan Bergman. All right, they got Jaylen Brown. They did bring in Chris Dunn as well. The kid Edwards, Taco Fall, Bruno Fernando, Al Horford, Enes Kanter's back, Luke Cornett, Romeo Lanford, Aaron Naismith, Jabari Parker, Peyton Pritchard.
He played some point for them last year.
Yep. Josh Richardson is there, so they got better defensively too. Schroeder, Smart, Tatum, Grant Williams, and Robert Williams.
I'm gonna have to redo some things. I'm gonna have to redo some things.
I mean, they look like a defensive team like us last year, and I mean, I might have undervalued Boston.
Well, I'm not sure what else you could have done unless you was going to put them.
I was trying to, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to keep that 6 seed. You know what I mean? I ain't putting them over my team, but maybe Atlanta slides 2 spots or something.
It's possible. It's possible.
Like I think Atlanta's built for the playoffs more than the regular season. So I think as long as they get in, you know what I mean, they could surprise teams.
Right.
And I didn't want to disrespect them and drop them.
Right.
And act like it was a fluke, because I like what they put together. They have a nice mixture of veterans and but that Boston team is kind of kind of scary.
It is.
Good, but yeah, you could get into your list, and if
Yeah,
we
I
have
want to
to,
get into the chat first, and then I'll get into my standards, and then we'll also pull up the Atlanta roster. What I like about them is that they're bringing back their same core, and I think that's why I gave them the edge. But shout out to Sam who said, "Don't sleep on Washington." You see, Sam, I got them
Mhm.
7. I like Washington. I think, once I move past the starters, I looked at that second team when I started ranking, and I should say also that I assumed that the teams would gel, and I assumed health, because had I put in that so and so might get injured because their the Knicks would not have been 5th. And had I put in whether this team would gel or not, I would probably not have put Chicago in, because I think that you could question the fit with that team. They have the talent, no doubt about it, but the parts might be a little mismatched, maybe. But let me just get to the chat. Be original. We will be 7th at the least, but we will have a stronger core and bench than last year. I agree. Universal Master, Knicks 4th or 5th seed. Somebody said something. Eric Surreal, nothing but Knicks. Washington is not doing nothing. They are horrible. I'm gonna read out Washington's roster and see if you still feel that. Charlotte is not better than the Knicks. That was trust. I am AO Digital. Washington will be trapped. We'll see. We'll see. Appreciate you, Quiet Money. So the top 3, I'm not going to argue. Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philadelphia. I still think they're going to be the top 3 no matter what. That may change. So Tony, Brooklyn, you're right. If they're healthy, they may get the number 1 seed. I'm not worrying about Philadelphia in the regular season, which these seedings are based on. It's Philadelphia in the playoffs, right? That's where they may run into similar trouble than they did last year. So I had the Knicks 5th, but let me just preface it by saying I think the Eastern Conference is going to be a dogfight. I actually went through every team's roster, every team's depth chart in the Eastern Conference except Boston. I don't know how I could have forgot Boston. And they've improved. So for the Knicks to get the 5th seed or even the 6th seed, a lot of things are going to have to break right for the Knicks, right? Randall's going to have a comparable season. Fournier and Kemba is going to have to mesh. Like on paper, it seems like it's a good fit for the Knicks, but it's going to actually have to happen off of paper, right? Quickly will have to get better. Obi will have to get better in order for them to get the 5th or 6th feet. A lot of things have to break right, but that's for most of these teams, right? A lot of things are going to have to break right. I put Atlanta over New York because, one, they're bringing back the same roster. Do we have? I think we have Atlanta's slot. I don't think there's much change from last year. I think they're bringing back the same top 10, and I think they drafted well, in my opinion. So Trae Young, Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, they re-signed, Clint Capella. Those are the starters. Off the bench, this is new. I forgot. DeLon Wright, Lou Williams, Kevin Huerter, Gallinari, and Okongwu. Right, so DeLon Wright is new, and that was actually something they needed. They needed a backup. They needed a backup point guard. They had to run Lou Williams there. Now they don't have to. And there was times when Lou Williams was only playing 10, 15 minutes a game. So if they want, they can move Cam Reddish into Lou Williams' spot. And look at this, how strong their situational players are. If somebody gets hurt, Sharif Cooper was 48, playing very well in Summer League. We'll see him today. Again, it is Summer League, but that goes for our players as well, right? Cam Reddish, Solomon Hill, Jalen Johnson, who's also playing well in Summer League, and Dieng. So this is a very deep team who has playoff experience, went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who knows what would have happened had Trae Young not been hurt? And Trae Young really came into his own in the playoffs, right? So there's no question mark about his ability to play well in the playoffs. We have that question mark with Randall. Now, we're not leaning on him as much this year as we was last year, but he's still going to need to show up for us to get out of the first round. So going back to the standings, that's why I had Atlanta. That's why I had Atlanta over us. Miami. Now, the thing with Miami, I agree with you, Tone. That starting lineup, like Kimba and Rose playing against Lowry, I don't think they're going to still get theirs, but Lowry's going to make it harder for them. Whoever Butler's playing, he's going to make it harder, whether he's on Fournier, whether he's on RJ, he's going to make it harder for them. And PJ Tucker is going to make it harder for Randall. I'm not saying that those guys on our team won't play well, but they're going to make it harder. The toughness in that Miami starting lineup, bar none, that's going to be the toughest team in the Eastern Conference, right? But when you look at, if we could put up Miami's roster, when you look at their second team, that's what kind of gave me pause about putting them in the fourth or fifth spot, because I feel like their second team is okay. And I feel like whatever the first team is able to do, will the second team be able to hold it, right? That being said, for Miami, I'm not even sure they go 10 deep. If they go 8 deep, that means Lowry or their best players are going to get more time, right? I think you'll look at our team sometimes and all the starters are on the bench and it's only the second team in there. I'm not sure if Miami does that. I'm not sure if they have the players to do that, right? So they may just go 8, 9 deep. And if that happens, that means their best players are going to be on the floor a little longer. And that could make a difference. I don't have Washington's roster to put up, but I'm going to read it off. And again, when I did my standings, I did it with everyone being healthy, right? So I didn't take that Dinwiddie is coming off of an injury into consideration, because then I would have had Kimba coming off an injury into consideration. So I just assumed that all teams are healthy, all teams are gelling. So let me get that Washington's roster. Dinwiddie, Beal, Kuzma, Hachimura, Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant is injured. I'm not sure if he'll be back for the start of the season. That second team, Raul Nato, who backed up the point guard last year, but also remember they got Aaron Holiday from Indiana, right? So Aaron Holiday very well may be the backup. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bertrand, Montrezl Harrell, and Daniel Gafford, who actually started and played very well when Thomas Bryant went out. So I would not sleep on Washington. And look at their situational players. Kispert, the rookie, Avdija, who was their rookie last year, and Isaiah Todd, who played for G League Ignite. He's another rookie. So I wouldn't sleep on Washington. And again, all of this is provided that they're healthy. If they're healthy, that's a pretty strong roster. And I know people will say, oh, they have to put it together, but the Knicks got to put it together. Charlotte has to put it together. All of these teams, Miami has to put it together, right? But if you're looking at that roster, I like Washington. I have them 7th. I have them over Charlotte, Indiana, and Chicago only because of this second team. I think that second team is going to be strong. Khalid Pasha, you might be a little late to the show. I said that I forgot about Boston, and I'm going to have to rework my rankings because I do think Boston will be a playoff team. I'm not quite sure why it skipped my mind. I'm not sure why, but I definitely think Boston is a playoff team, and I would have to go back, look at the rosters again. I guess I would take off Indiana, but let me just read out Indiana. And I think Indiana reminds me of us, where they didn't make a lot of roster changes, but the coach is going to be a big change for them, just like Tibbs was a big change for us. So Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, TJ Warren, who I love, Sabonis, Miles Turner. Those are the starters. Coming off the bench, TJ McConnell, another player who I love. Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, Torrey Craig, and Badadzi. I don't know him. I'm not familiar with him, but situational. Isaiah Jackson, the rookie out of Kentucky. Chris Duarte, who I wanted the Knicks to draft, but he wasn't available. Out of the rookie out of Oregon, and some other players. So I think Indiana also has a pretty good roster, and they have a coaching change. And I have a lot of respect for Carlisle, right? I think they're going to be on point. And I think they're going to be better just because of that. But this is Bricks Nation thinks Indiana is better than Charlotte, Chicago, and Washington. What do you think about that?
Well, number one, I think ultimately the coaching change for them is gonna be beneficial, but I think it's gonna be over time. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a underwhelming or disappointing season this year, but ultimately keep the coach and become better in the long run over the next 4 years. He's a tough coach, and that might be an adjustment for them. The only thing that I will say is they did have Nate McMillan, right?
Yes.
So I mean, in that sense, it may not be as much of an adjustment, but
right.
In my brain, I would rather have Nate McMillan. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think it might take them a minute for that coach for them to take a liking to that coaching style. But coaching is one of the reasons I had Boston sliding as well. I think their coaching change and somewhat, I don't want to say culture change, but now their former coaches in the GM position. That is a dangerous thing right there that I think may take some figuring out.
That's a good point.
So and I couldn't remember why I had them sliding, but that's why I have them, or that's why I have them at the 7th seed. And then the same way, we're counting the chemistry. Atlanta bringing everybody back. I feel like we're in that same position. We brought everybody back -2, and those 2 in my brain, that's an upgrade. So, I think you gotta put that into consideration. Just like on the flip side, you gotta put in the coaching changes into consideration. You gotta put in, and this is subjective, but you gotta put in if you think teams aren't gonna gel immediately. With the same way you credit bringing everybody back. I think bringing in a bunch of new guys. I think that is, you got to factor that in some way somehow. At your choice though. You know what I mean? Yeah. The way you factored it may be different from the way I factored
right.
it.
I mean, I think it's going to take some time, but I don't think it's going to take the entire season for teams to gel. It could, right? But chances are it's not going to take 82. It's not going to take 82 games. Let me get to this super chat. Gartrell Davis, thank you for the super chat. I think the Pacers will be better than people think because they upgraded at the head coach position the same way we upgraded last year with Tibbs. They made the playoffs the year before with McMillan as the coach. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. And I didn't cheat. I didn't read this ahead of time. Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree. I think that's going to be a major upgrade with them. I heard Brogdon speak, and he said that he alluded to that having a new coach impacted them, and that they were looking forward to getting back to having a coach with experience. So, I mean, I think that they'll, yeah.
That makes sense. And I mean, I don't know why McMillan was let go. So maybe that had nothing to do with any of the players. And if that's the case, then it may not take that long for them to welcome in what's his name?
Rick Carlisle.
Carlisle. Yeah, they may, it may be seamless, and it may be the Thibodeau effect. If that was a front office decision, and the players actually suffered from losing Nate, maybe that does work out. And then just to touch on Washington, I didn't like forget about them. I looked at their roster. I think, they can overachieve and make it up there, but I looked at it from a GM perspective, and I think ultimately that team is probably gonna get blown up and put on like a youth movement
before the end of the season.
I think so. I don't see them. I don't see them staying pat. And for them to get in, I think everything kind of has to go their way. They don't have a large margin for error. You know what I mean? Like, they can get in. They could potentially probably be as I probably would have put them maybe at 8 at best. But that has to be like no errors during the season. You know what I mean? Everything is gelling perfectly, which slim chance.
But you know what? Believe it or not, I feel that about the Knicks. Like, in two ways. One, there's no saying that Kemba and Fournier, because they're upgrades, and they are upgrades on Bullock and Elfrid, doesn't mean it's going to be seamless, even though they are upgrades, right? So I think that but I think over time it will. But I think what can blow everything up is Kemba's health. I think we gloss over that. I think we gloss over that a lot. If Kemba is not healthy, so it's one thing we may have to manage his minutes. We may have to manage Rowe's minutes. Neither one of them may play on back-to-backs. This is a tight Eastern Conference, in my opinion. So that means that you got to rely on McBride, who's a rookie, if one of those guys can't go, or you got to rely on Burke to play the point guard position, or you got to rely on Quickly to play the point guard position when one of those guys can't go because it's a back-to-back. Now, I don't know what the load management is. I'm just saying, if that is the case, there's nothing to say that that's going to be seamless. That if Burke's come in and he's the backup point for that game, that second unit is going to run just as well as if it was Rose, right? So there are plenty of opportunities for the Knicks also to have hiccups, right? And if any of those guys miss a significant amount of time, 5 games, 10 games, what have you, yeah, the Knicks can fall in standings just the same way it happened last year, because things was so tight. As much as I think if Kemba is healthy, it's going to really work for us. I don't think we can deny that it's a risk, right? I don't think we can deny that it's a risk, because if he can't go, a lot of people say, well, if he can't go, it's only $8 million. I'm not even talking about the money. If he can't go, we can lose some seeding. And if he can't go in the playoffs, we can lose that. We can lose that playoff series, because you can't tell me we're going to be just as good without Kemba in the playoff series. So I think there is some risk there. Things do have to fall in place for us to get that 5th seed or to get the 6th seed. It's not out of the. We're looking at the best case scenario with the 5th and 6th seed, but the worst case scenario could be the play-in if there's a lot of injuries. Right? That's the word that could be the worst case scenario. So we're hoping for the best with that. And on that note, I did have a question. Do you have a lot of confidence, because we know how important the management of Kemba. I mean, we don't know anything yet as far as Kemba, but we're thinking that his minutes may need to be managed. Rowe's minutes, we know, need to be managed. Do you trust Tibbs to be able to do that and stick with it?
I think this is why we've seen Quickly running the point this whole summer league. I think they're looking for all the options. I think they know
right.
Derrick Rose is at his best at this point playing 25 minutes and giving it his all for 25 minutes. They're probably looking at Kimber and saying, everybody's trying to let this guy unleash him or do like they used to do Derrick Rose. Like maybe if we get him in and use him the way we know we need to use Derrick Rose for 25 minutes, you know what I mean? But we getting the best of him for those 25. You know what I mean? I think that's the strategy. And I do think we're still deep at point guard because at the very best, those guys are splitting it 50-50, right? But I think we are in a position to where Quickly can play 10 minutes at the point. Burke can play 8 minutes at the point. I mean, we could have a non-traditional point guard on the floor at certain times of the game where RJ in there and Burke's in there and
But Tony, let me ask you the question. Yes, we can, but the question is, will we still be as effective? Will our offense still be as effective with them running it? You understand?
I think so. You know what I think the key is for us? 100%. I think if they make tell RJ, you're going to be our best defender. I don't want you to focus on offense. Let that come within the flow of the game because I think that's when RJ's at his best anyway.
Yes.
When you know what I mean, he's just the open guy and getting that shot, or the cutter and getting that shot. Mm-hmm. No plays ran for you, and don't take this as a disrespect for RJ. I think if RJ takes the next step and we tell him like we need you to play Bullock's role defensively, mm-hmm. and let the offense come, I think sky will be the limit for this team. I really, because I don't want to put that on Fournier. I'd rather Fournier play to his strengths, shooting the ball, creating for others. You know what I mean? In that order. You know what I mean? Let everybody else play to their strengths. I think we kind of seen glimpses of that last year when Bullock was down. RJ had to take on that role, and even in certain matchups with Bullock on the floor, depending on the team, RJ got stuck with what I thought was a bad matchup for him, but he never wavered. He never backed down. He took any assignment that was given to him. Right. I think he's gonna have to, if he takes the next step defensively, I think that'll open everything up for the entire team.
No doubt about it. I just want to shout out the chat, and I agree with this. Oh boy, did I lose it? IQJ, I think it was IQJ. I lost it, but basically he's saying every team in the Eastern Conference besides Brooklyn and Miami have question marks. Yeah, that's the point I was making, that we were talking about other teams with question marks and things would have to break right. I think that's for all of us, that things have to break right. I think most teams, you're right, do have question marks. If they're bringing in new players, then they have to gel. It may go right, it may not go right. That is true. Chauncey Kelly, we have plenty of depth at the point guard. I'm not even worried. I guess, for me, it's not about just putting somebody in that position. And I know this is not what you were saying, Tony. It's not about putting a point guard in that position. Yeah, we have plenty of point guards that we can put in the point guard position. The question is, will they be able to play the point guard effectively where we can still win a game? Like, it's going to be tight in the Eastern Conference. And I think health is going to play a difference in standings, and gelling is going to play a difference in standing. Let me get to this super chat. Hank Deasy, thank you for the super chat. Brooklyn, Bucks, Hawks, and Knicks. Heat is too old. You know what? You have a point there, but this is what I'll say about Mike. I bet you Lowry is going to be in the best shape of his life. That's one thing about Miami. You have over. Well, not that Lowry is overweight at all, but when they had players who were overweight or who did have weight problems, or you seem like they was over, you go to Miami and next thing you know, you rejuvenated. I don't know if it's the staff. I don't know if they're really big on, you having to sustain a certain weight. I think they're kind of older, but I think they're gonna be. Fine. Frank Walters, healthy team Knicks finished no lower than fourth. Mitch missed a good part of the season. He did, but the conference is better. And shout out to Josh. Happy birthday to you again, aka UncleFOOlio from the Controversy. I have to scroll back up, but basically what he was saying is that he sees Miami as being the third seed over Philly. Josh, we talked about this a little earlier. I think Miami. I think Miami is their starting five is really good. It's the bench I don't see as being very strong, and I think that's why I gave New York the edge. And Tony has them at the fourth seed. But back to that question, do you trust Tibbs to manage those minutes for Kimber and Rose?
It's funny, and I purposely and intentionally haven't really mentioned McBride. I'm super high on him, but I already know, he's a rookie. I know where you're gonna go with it. But the fact that he's a Tibbs type guy, if we have to, if we need to, I see Tibbs giving him at the very least the opportunity. You know what I mean? Frank had an opportunity. I can't see him at the very least not getting the same chance. You know what I mean? That Frank got last year under Tibbs. You know what I mean? Now, what he does with it is yet to be determined. But I'm really high on the kid just because the effort that he plays with on defense, the fact that he's gonna pick you up full court and not being told to, like you're gonna have to tell him not to do that because you don't want it, that rather than, you know what I mean, you having to tell him to amp up the defense, and the shot looks pure, like, and these are things that you were telling me, prior to us drafting him, like, yo, but he could shoot, Tone. He could shoot. Like now that I've seen it, and watched it in its entirety, that's the way I'm feeling. So
yeah.
I don't want to go as far as to say he's an upgrade from Elfrid Payton, but I'll say he might be.
Yeah, I will say this too. I can see games where Quickly is in and his shot is not falling in the first half, and then Tibbs going with McBride in the second half. Or a game where, even though they play different positions, putting McBride in and then moving Rose off the ball at the two, because Rose can play off the ball. So I definitely see that. Or if Tibbs is not happy with IQ's defense, putting McBride in. So even though he's situational, which is our new term for third team, right? Even though he's situational, I do see him getting minutes, and the same with it may be a harder path for Grimes, a shooting guard, but there's always a time in the season during the course of an 82-game season where somebody gets hurt and those situational players have to move into the rotation. And our situational, and I think we have our depth chart as well, and then I'll get to the super chats. Our situational players are extremely strong. So if they are, in my opinion, so if we do have injuries, I'm comfortable with any of those guys coming in. So I think for our starting lineup, I think Kimba is going to start. That can change, but I see Kimba, RJ, Fournier, Randall, and Mitch on that second team. I see Rose, Burke. Well, Rose, IQ, Burke, Obi, and Noel, which is a pretty strong second team, at least offensively. And Obi's defense looked much better in summer league. I know Andy was talking about this on your show, Knicks and Bruises, earlier. His defensive awareness is better, and that is true. But not just that, his actual defense, is better. I saw guys drive into the lane, and he was able to cut them off and have them pick up their dribbles. So again, it's summer league, but I'm really hoping that translate. But on that third team or the situational team, if those guys get hurt, you got McBride, you got Grimes, you got Sims, you got Bacon, who they brought in as well. You got Taj, who played significant minutes with the injury. So that situational team, I'm okay with any of those guys having to step in and play rotation minutes if somebody goes down. Even Sims. Now, I think, and I'm interested in what you think. I think if one of the centers goes down, I think Tibbs would feel more comfortable sliding in Taj before he slid in Sims. What do you think?
I mean, I agree, just because he knows.
Yeah.
They have a long history. He knows what he's getting. It's never gonna be about effort with Taj. So, I mean, I agree. I agree that you're right. I don't agree with that being the case. Like, I wish right. Sims, right. God forbid, I wish he would get the opportunity first. So I got an interesting take on our center position.
Okay.
And
let me read these two super chats real quick. Gartrell Davis, shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. With Philly, what they're going to do with Ben Simmons, he's not talking to them. I can see a Dame Simmons trade. He may not be talking to them, but if they don't trade him, he has to return. He has to show to camp. Oh, this is our roster: Kemba, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Mitch. Look at that. Derek, Emmanuel, Burks, Toppin. Oh, I forgot about Vildoza. Mm-hmm. Now, they have until, I think it's the first or second day of the season to guarantee his contract. Miles McBride, Quentin Grant, Kevin Knox. Forgot about Kevin Knox. Todd Gibson. But Bacon also, I guess it was more like a training camp invite. And so they'll have to choose. Bacon you could put there as well, and there was one other player, Sims. Well, Sims signed a 2-way contract, so he'll probably be in the G League, and Jokibitis will be playing overseas, so he won't be there. So you got to add Bacon to this list, and so either Bacon is going to make it or Vildoza. As one of those situational players. I think McBride's, Grimes, Knox, and Taj, unless there's a trade, is a given. One more super chat, and then you can get to your point. Josh, a.k.a. UncleFOOlio. Miami not in y'all top 3? Blasphemous. They have a point guard, small forward, Bam, coach, and front office with championship pedigree, and they defend, and their bench will be okay. Yeah, but we discussed that already.
Yes, we did, Josh. I said they could potentially wait top 3. No. Nah. I said it's possible, but right now I can't make them skip Philly. They have no answer for Embiid either.
Yeah, and I don't think their bench is that great. But then again, they may only go 8, and that'll definitely
maximize
help them. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I just think we're and again, I did this with us being healthy. If we're not healthy, I could definitely see them passing us without question and moving up the ranks. What's your worst case scenario in terms of standings if we have a lot of injuries or if we don't gel? Do you think we still make the playoffs just at a lower seed, or we don't make it at all?
We still have an opportunity. Like we there's no way we miss the play-in. You know what I mean? Like that's not. I don't think that is. Again, we're not gonna wood because I've definitely thought it couldn't get worse before.
Right.
But I think rock bottom for this year is still making the play-in.
Right.
And at that point, I think we still have a chance. You know what I mean? Like I don't care who we're playing against in the play-in. I think we have a chance to beat them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's rock bottom for this this year. I can't see us under any circumstance not making the play-in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking every position on our squad, or all the young guys on our squad, are in a position to where they can learn from a vet and get better.
Right.
Except really like the center position, and it had me thinking that as good as our center's position is defensively, it's probably our weakest position. And yeah, I mean, none of our centers can create for themselves.
Okay, in that sense, yes. Yeah.
So like Sims might actually be the best center we have that can create for himself. You know what I mean? And, that you could give him the ball in the post and he might be able to do something.
Right.
But it had me thinking, how is Mitchell Robinson going to develop? Granted, we don't even know if we're going to have him past this year, but how's he going to develop? How is even Nerlens Noel at this stage of his career going to develop? And going forward, Jericho Sims, how are those three guys going to get better? Facing each other, who all have similar games. You know what I mean? Like or similar limitations. Because you think about like McBride. Not only is he gonna learn from Quickly, but he's gonna learn from Rose. He's gonna learn from Walker. You know what I mean? RJ is such a sponge where he's gonna pick up from everybody. Randall, you know what I mean? Obi has Randall as well. Even Grimes has RJ. Burks, you know what I mean? Where? It just had me thinking about that center position, and like we need to bring Ewing in for a week, and you know what I mean, or Kareem, or you know what I mean, somebody to teach, especially Mitch, but teach all these guys some offensive developmental go-to moves. You know what I mean, like.
Yeah, let me ask you this question, because this was, and you may have come across it on Twitter as well. So, do you think that Mitchell and Noel, you're right, they can't really stretch the defense, though I've seen Noel take a few like baseline extended shots, but they don't really look for it. Noel doesn't look for it a lot, and Mitchell doesn't look for it at all. But do you think with this team, because of the offense that we have, that's okay on this particular team, that we don't really need that with this team? And the reason I bring this up, because there was a big debate today on Twitter and in one of the chat groups about Mitchell Robinson and Miles Turner, and how Miles Turner may have better offense, but for this particular team, the way it's constructed, we don't really need offense from that position, and that Mitchell and Noel is probably a better fit for this particular team. What do you think about that?
I've always been high on Mitchell Robinson. I was one of those, we can't trade him for nothing. You know what I mean? He's got all the potential, blah, blah, blah. And I would include him if I had to bring Miles Turner in. I don't agree with that take that we don't need offense, because it's not even about needing it. It's about the ability to do it. That's what I want to see. I don't care if he don't take, Mitch or even Noel, if they don't take the shots. Like Noel's, I know he can and he will if he has to. I believe if Mitch is left wide open and in a situation, especially away from the rim, I think he will shoot it. Shot clock going down if he has to. I think he will shoot it. But what I want to see is I want to see a hook shot. I want to see you a post move if a little man is on you. I want to see you be able to. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be something you do every day. It has to be something you're able to do, because again, these are situations that we faced in the playoffs where if you could take a hook shot, you would have took one. If you could put the ball down, you would have done that instead of being stagnant in what you're comfortable doing. So I disagree with that sentiment. I would take Miles Turner, even if I had to tell him you're coming here to be a defensive player. You know what I mean? Because he could give you offense if you need him to.
Right. Shout out to Sim. Nothing but Knicks. I think it's always better to have offense from every position. Exactly, Tony. It's the ability to do it. The ability to do it opens up the offense. And there's a poll pinned to the top of the chat. Would you trade Mitch for Miles Turner? So if you guys get an opportunity, if you see it, I'm interested in what you think. Would you do it? I think, the arguments today on Twitter were fair in the sense that, Mitch may be a better fit for this team with all the offense that we have. But I think, listen, I'm for Miles Turner, and the other thing was that Mitch is a better pick and roll defender. He can switch out a little better on the guards than Miles Turner can. And he probably can. I don't think Miles Turner, I don't think it's a matter of one person is doing it so much more, better than the other person. But what I like about being able to stretch the defense is that really opens up the lane. That really opens up the lane for RJ, for Fournier, for Kemba, for all of these guys who like to drive. If Miles Turner is in there, you have to respect that. And even though he only shot, I think it was 33% from 3-point range, that doesn't mean he's going to always shoot 33%. That doesn't mean that he can't improve. And I think with better shot selection, he will improve. And also, you can't underestimate what I like to call the Tibbs effect. You play one way on another team, but when you get on this team under this coaching staff who's very clear about your role, their expectation of you, and I think they go right down to where you should be taking your shots. I mean, I'm not there, but I really think they get into it. Like, this is where you need to be taking your shots in this offense. Who's to say that he wouldn't improve? So I see both sides, and a lot of it also depends on the money. How much money is Mitchell Robinson asking for? And I really think that had a lot to do with the Noel contract. Yes, they liked him. Yes, he deserved an increase in pay. But I think another part of it was also insurance, just in case the Mitchell Robinson negotiation goes awry. The season doesn't go awry. We already know we have somebody who can come in and play that role. What do you think about that?
No, I agree 100%. I agree. It's not much.
Yeah, it was a tough argument to say about it. I mean, I will say this, and I mentioned this last year. If we could last show, if we can just be easy with each other. I mean, like, people was going so hard, calling people stupid for wanting to trade Mitchell, and this for wanting to bring in Miles, and it's a fair argument. It's a fair argument either way.
And instead of saying all that, come on the show. You know what I mean? Call in.
Call in, right?
And state your reasons why you disagree. You don't gotta call somebody stupid or you know what I mean? Like, especially, I mean, I don't know if anything was directed to me personally, but I try to put logic and reasoning behind anything that I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying, oh, this guy needs to start because he's better or because he's the sixth pick, or you know what I mean? Like I try to give reasoning behind it, and then you could disagree or you could agree.
And he may not be as good a rebounder as Mitch, but I don't think Mitch is a hellified rebounder either.
No, I actually, that's funny because I didn't know which way you were going when you said he might not be as good a I didn't know if you were saying Mitch not be as good as Miles or Miles not be as
But
good
the argument was that Miles wasn't as good a rebounder as Mitch, but I don't see Mitch being a hellified rebounder as well. I mean, when you look at his total rebounds, you got to keep in mind it's like 2 or 3 offensive rebounds in the total, right? When you look at that defensive rebounding, it's not very strong. So we got 77 votes and it's tight. 55% said they would trade for Miles. They would trade Mitch for Miles Turner, and 45% said they would not. I'm okay either way. If they keep them or if they don't.
Me personally, I would try to not include Mitch. You know what I mean? Because that, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, that's somebody that Mitch can actually learn from. You know what I mean? Like he can teach him things that is not in his arsenal already. Noel can teach him how to maximize what he does already. You know what I mean? But he's not going to teach him anything outside of his comfort zone. And I think that's what he's going to need to get better. But because I think we could potentially. I mean, we still have all our assets. We can make a move for Miles and not include Mitch.
It's the money because you got to pay Mitch next year.
I know, but you worry about that next year.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
yeah, you're right.
If you don't trade for Miles, you still got to worry about it next year, right?
Right.
So it ain't changing. So yeah, I mean that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, let me address this. I don't know, old boy James. Here she go again with this Kimba negativity, but she wanted Lonzo, who's considered a bust. Listen, it's not negativity. This is what I don't understand about Knicks fans. You can't have a nuanced conversation. You have to be a cheerleader. Like you can't point out risk. It's more than he was injured 1 year. He has a degenerative knee issue that needs to be managed. It's not negative, it's facts, right? So it's possible that his minutes may need to be managed. It's possible that he doesn't play back to back. And if that's the case, it can impact us if he can't go in a big game, if he can't go during our playoff push, and if he can't go in the playoffs. That's not negativity, that's facts. Right? So when you come on this show, you come on Nothing But Knicks, and you're gonna get the facts. You know, this not just pom-poms and cheerleaders. Now, pom-poms and cheerleaders are welcome, but I want to create a space where we are all welcome, right? Every view is welcome. It's not being negative because you're bringing up what's possible, you know? And you're right. Everybody is injury can succumb to an injury, but if you already have injuries or a history of injuries, your risk is a little greater. That's all I'm saying. I like the Knicks just like you. I don't want the Knicks season to be derailed by injuries, right?
And you had the same prior to us getting Kimba. You, I, and a lot of others had the same concerns about Derrick Rose.
Yes, we did.
And we can't rely on him to play 35 minutes for 82 games and still give us his best in the playoffs. So, I mean, I'm sure you feel better with the two of these guys than you did.
I feel better with the two of them. You know? I would feel much better if we had a stronger third. We had a stronger third point guard.
But I mean, again, let's hope McBride ends up being that guy. You know, down because we won't know until we see it. You know what I mean? Until he proves it, and that's a possibility. Because I what I don't want to do, I mean, and this may sound like the biased Knicks fan, but I don't want to bring another guy in and push these guys further down the depth chart. You know what I mean?
Right.
At this point, you know, I think we all liked what we've seen so far from from McBride. And I think ultimately we'll be happy with him just getting the opportunity. You
And
know
I
what I
think
mean?
he will.
Of like the same fair shot I think Frank got this year. You know what I mean? I'll be happy with that. And then if he makes more of that opportunity, so be it.
Yeah, I think so. Um, I mean, we only got 5 more minutes because the Knicks play at 7 p.m.
It's on
Really,
ESPN 3 too, by the
it's
way.
on ESPN 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, exactly. I said the same thing about Kyrie. Brooklyn is, it's a risk, but at least with Brooklyn, they can bring in Harden. But real quick, what do you want to see in the summer league tonight?
I mean, I don't mind whether Quickly's there or not. I don't mind. I just want to see the young guys. Hopefully Sims can play again, and I want to see the young guys show out and show me what they got. Continue what I've seen so far. I've been more than pleased. Even with Grimes, like even
Yes,
though
we
like
haven't talked
I
about
I
him.
wasn't very high on him watching some of the games early, but I kept saying like even though his shots ain't falling, his defense is solid. You know what I mean? Like throughout the summer league, and then once the shots started falling, big grin on my face, like you know what I mean? Like it just had to drop. You know what I mean? Like I like his confidence. At times he looks a little small to me, undersized, but but I think he has all the tools, and I like the fact that we could just let him grow, man. Just let him become who he's gonna become. No pressure, no savior, no, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, the same thing. I want to see McBride more. I want to see Grimes more. And I believe somebody in the chat said Quickly is playing today. That third game, I thought Quickly was much better in terms of seeing people. And so I hope that they get that he'll get that opportunity again tonight.
You said the third game?
His third game. The third game, I saw more playmaking out of Quickly.
Because he had 8 assists in both of the first 2 games.
He did, but he got assists, but he still missed people. I thought that third game he saw more people. Because you can get an assist by passing it to the wing or somebody. Yeah.
No, I know. I was just I don't know what game I missed. I mean, I missed the first game, but the second game I seen, and I was surprised at his playmaking then. And then
the third game I thought was even better. Yeah. So we got will the Knicks beat the Hawks in Summer League play today? 85% said yes, 15% said no. And then the poll wasn't that close. The first one, let me see if I can find it. The final results okay. Would you trade Mitch for Miles Turner? 56% said yes, and 43% said no, with 108 people voting. So a good percentage of the people are high on Miles Turner. All right. Anyway, we out of here. Thank you guys for hanging with us. We'll be back next week because the Summer League will be over. We'll be back next week at 8 p.m. Any last words, Tone?
Appreciate you having me on. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Sim. Shout out to you, Queen. Yo, Black is time.
All right. We out of here. I think I'm not sure. Check to see if there's going to be a post game after the Knicks and the Hawks. Okay, so just check your notifications. If there's going to be a post game, I'll be on it.
Facts.
All right.